Good morning. It works. Good morning, everybody. My name is Ali Habbabeh. I'm product manager for Web3 at Roche, which is a pharmaceutical company. And today we want to talk about zero-knowledge proofs in healthcare. So actually, this picture is very relevant. This is Alibaba, because outside of the Middle East, whenever I say my name is Ali, everybody asks me, do you know Alibaba? And I'm like, no, you're the first one who tells me that. But actually, it's relevant today, because zero-knowledge proofs is all about proving you're inside of the cave without saying what the magic word is. So what is zero-knowledge proofs? It's an encryption method where one party can prove to another that you know value X without revealing that secret value. An example, you can prove that you know a secret password without revealing what the password is. It's as simple as that. Another example, proving you have a secret cookie recipe without giving the ingredients. So you can just give the cookie, taste the same, good. That's zero-knowledge proofs. So why do we need that? Why do we need zero-knowledge proofs in healthcare? It's really quite simple, because due diligence is really time-consuming, and of course, the data security stuff. So with all the fancy stuff around zero-knowledge proofs, when it comes to reality and real applications, like healthcare, not finance, no, I'm joking. It's all about making due diligence very efficient. So, please meet Pepe, the patient, Pepe the frog. His age, he's eternally youthful, occupation, full-time meme legend, and you can see all his data. Now imagine that this is his health passport, Pepe's health passport. And now we're gonna look at use cases when it comes to zero-knowledge proofs with this health passport. So if Pepe goes to the hospital the first time, they need to know everything. Now, do they need to know everything? Not really, but because of compliance, they want everything. So Pepe has to reveal the whole health passport. However, if Pepe wants to go to the pharmacy and get some medication, he doesn't need all this data to reveal. All he needs is his name, his picture on the ID should look like the person who's holding that ID, which is not so hard. And of course, he needs to have a prescription that says what is the condition that Pepe has. In this case, he has chronic variability syndrome or hypermemetic disorder. These are serious diseases. Now, when it comes to pharmaceutical companies or anybody who wants to do some research, technically, we don't need the name. We don't care who the patient is, what's the gender of the patient most of the time. All we need to know that this is a patient, a verified patient that has that specific disease, and they're being treated in one of our products, in the example of Roche. But of course, it applies to all pharmaceutical companies. Now, some pharmaceutical companies, they have what we call patient support programs, where basically the patient cannot afford our medication. In that case, we have these programs, patient support program, where all we need to know that this patient qualifies for that patient support program, meaning they have a specific yearly income that is not able to cover that. For that, what do we need to know? We need to trust that this patient is from that yearly income range, and they have that specific disease, and they're being treated in one of our medications. So that's why, in that case, we don't need all this burden of personal data. So, other use cases that I'm going to go through very quickly, so we give some time later for Q&A if there is any. In what we call outcome-based contracts, mainly the healthcare scene is changing a little bit. Back in the time, you give medication, then the payers, meaning health insurance, that will pay you for that medication. However, this is changing a little bit. Now, there is new types of contracts, meaning like the payers are only willing to pay if the outcome of this medication is showing improvement of the patient's life. And these are new contracts that can be, zero-knowledge proof can be perfect use case for it. Insurance companies are also very worried about fraud, like healthcare fraud, and they require a lot of documentation. So with zero-knowledge proof, we can make this much more efficient without risking revealing the data of the patient. And at the same time, patients in so many markets, they want to know if this healthcare provider is certified and he is or she is who they say they are. And again, this is a perfect use case for healthcare. So what are we doing at Roche? We're building DIMI. Now it's version 2. Last year I talked about version 1. What did we add to it? We added zero knowledge proofs. So without revealing the data, we're also changing the chain that we were on. We were working with a smaller chain, and now we're going to a public blockchain that's much more used and better. So basically, what is DIMI? Distributed digital identity allows the patient to own their data, share it with whoever they want for whatever purpose we agree on, for a specific time, and they can potentially even get rewarded for that data. So it's a distributed identity. Remember Pepe the patient, you can use one identity in many places without risking that your data will get revealed. This is just a quick summary about how it works, but basically you have a patient, goes to the doctor, they do a handshake, not a literal handshake, but like, transaction handshake. So basically the doctor and the patient would sign that transaction. This transaction signature will go on the blockchain, and the data can go to a separate storage, for example, IPFS, or it could be stored even on the patient's device if the country allows that. And then the patients are able to have in the root folder, we call it, all their identity that's not revealed to anybody. And then you have like subfolders where you have your identity for that specific hospital, that specific clinic, and whatnot, and then you share only that. Just like a quick demo how it looks like, the solution from a patient side. Patients can even see their points, how many tokens they did, because we can send them some surveys, and they answer these surveys without revealing their identity, and they can get some tokens that they can later cash it out as physiotherapy lessons or a discount on our medication or whatnot. Yeah, another nice app looking. So how does it work? I see the animation here is messed up, sorry for that. So the patient creates a DIMI account. Basically, they're just creating a wallet, and they grant access to healthcare data for a specific doctor or a healthcare provider. And after the doctor or the healthcare provider diagnose the patient, they can give them a certificate that this is the certificate that they can use to prove themselves later on. They upload the data on a separate storage system off-chain. This could be, as I said, IPFS or something else. Then Roche, in that case, they can query the interactions between a specific doctor that we certified. We gave them the certificate, so we trust them. And then we get a list of wallet addresses, in that case, about a specific interaction. And then we can request consent from the patient. If the patient gives us the consent, then we're able to get aggregated version of the data, not on a patient level, more like aggregated, so we are GDPR compliant. So how does the DIMI work in practice? You request consent, they grant you zero knowledge proof, then you have non-identifiable patient data, and then our scientists, they can do all kinds of studies they want on that. So why are we doing DIMI? First of all, it's a compliant data sharing without third party. We're trying to remove all the burden of having personal data and at the same time not having a single point of failure, of course, with blockchain data integrity and data privacy, because the data never leaves its location, only the proof of the data that goes there. We call this support beyond the pill. So after you take your medication, we can still be in contact with you without identifying who you are, which is cool. And we can translate later this data into evidence that helps us in compliance and helps us to improve our products as well. And of course, the most beautiful part about this is you, as a patient, you can own your data, and this is like a new paradigm, right? So why do we need zero knowledge proofs for that? We want to remove third parties. At the same time, we like to reduce costs, and improve the security and the ownership of data. So here I'm going to share some of the lessons learned from my own experience. This doesn't reflect Roche opinion. This is just my experience. First of all, if you want to build any kind of healthcare solution, you have to remember hospitals, doctors don't have time. The moment you come and say, hey guys, I have an innovative idea, they're like, nah. They really don't have time. So whatever solution you want to build, be it blockchain or not blockchain, you have to always find a way to do it without, with minimum involvement from the IT team of the hospitals. And you have to think later on when they want to use it, how can I reduce the patient's time and make it efficient for them? Existing infrastructure is a pain, so hospitals and even some of our data is really traditional systems that's very hard to integrate. You really need government support in most of the countries. You cannot do it bottom up, you always have to do it top down. And building on small ecosystems is really tough, so that's why it makes sense to go to larger ecosystems. That's why we changed the chain that we're working. Finding talents to pioneering a new system is also a challenge. And the final thing I would like to leave you with is startups are cool, but sometimes they disappear. So make sure you know who you're working with. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, we can connect and you can ask me online.
Hello, Ali. First of all, congratulations for the presentation and the project. In Brazil, we tried to do something similar. We called My Health Data project. But at the time, the challenge was about GDPR, because everybody, when we started to talk, the first thing, oh, the patient's data, how they will release the information, legal stuff, blah, blah, blah. How did you tackle this problem?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, GDPR is one of the biggest challenges we're facing when building decentralized systems. That's why, as we said, we're using zero-knowledge proofs. Basically, the data should never leave the location of it. Like, let's say it's on the hospital side or on the patient level. We never get patient-level data. We only get aggregated version of the data, which is allowed by GDPR. As long as you have enough anonymization of the data, you should be fine. As long as you cannot do deep mining and finding out who the patient is based on the interactions on the blockchain, then that's fine. But it's really one of the biggest challenges. That's why we're not really now focused on Europe. We're trying to do it somewhere else until just we prove the case, and then we can see. There's one more question, if you have time. Yeah, this is as I said, it's a paradigm shift. We're trying to give ownership of the data from the hospitals back to the patient, right? So it really depends on the country. That's why we're trying to do this outside of Europe and the US for now, because it's a paradigm shift, right? If you own your data as a patient, then you are the one to decide with whom you want to share it for what purpose. And that's what GDPR is all about, right? So I see this is changing. The ownership of the data will change one day, in my opinion, from the hospitals back to the patient. And hopefully also in the US we'll follow through after that. Thank you guys. All right, one more if we have time.
Yeah. Be a little quick.
Thanks. So yeah, we are building also same project, Health Data Book.
You're a competitor.
To give you the solution for the GDPR compliance, you have to make it like an avatar. And with an avatar, your data is borderless and compliant to GDPR.
So by just having an avatar, then you're GDPR compliant?
Yeah, in fact, you put data on an avatar, and it make it not personal, and you can.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. If you do the data non-identifiable data, that's fine. But if the avatar is kind of a digital twin of you, and you run any kind of analysis on that data, then you're not GDPR compliant, right? It's all about the data, regardless if you have an avatar or not.
Yeah, you can encrypt it, no problem.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.